Hey everybody, and welcome to episode 3 of Formula GP on Tabletop Simulator. This is our playthrough where we are Williams right now coming down the front straight at Monza. Ferrari and Mercedes have just pit. They were ahead of us, so hopefully we can make the best out of this next turn. Just a quick reminder that this game is still a prototype, so some of the graphics and rules of this game will likely change before the full release. Also, we are playing with the advanced rules, which is also called the full simulation rules, and that's the way the game was intended to be played. So now we're going to move to round 11, and we are going to draw our card. We have a full ERS battery, which means we get to draw 2 extra cards on top of the normal 4 that we get, and we get a red card. So I like that. We have a lot of different options. So I'm going to look at the other teams. I'm going to go through the draws for them and see where they end up, and then we're going to make our move after that. I'm just going to explain this pit procedure. So since Ferrari is in the pits and they're taking their turn first because they're ahead of everybody else, what happens is you draw all your cards. Now, in this case, it's a little bit strange because Ferrari actually picked their system failure card, and what they drew was this really bad engine mapping -1 movement point every game round card. So what they're going to do is they're going to run a quick fix. So they're going to discard a blue card, because that's what it indicates here in the back, along with the right parameter token, because yes, they're in the pits, they could spend an extra turn, but because Mercedes is in with them, they don't want to do that. So now this is going to get rid of this issue. This is going to go back into the discard pile, and hopefully for them will not come up for the rest of the game. Now that they're in the pits, I will show you the procedure though. So the first thing you do is you change your tires. So they came in because their soft tires essentially had fallen off the cliff, so they take that off, and now they're going to switch to their mediums. And in Formula 1, especially in recent years, this is what this game is based off of, you always have to use 2 different tire types during a race. So because they use soft the first time when they started the race, they cannot put softs again. They're going to lose a movement point. But if ever this tire goes off the cliff, they've at least got a +1 that they can still use for the rest of the race. So +3 for now. We're going to recover the tire to where the mediums and softs start. And then they also have this card here, tire pressure, where, oh, sorry, not this one. The crew will adjust the tire pressure during a pit stop, place the new tire wear token 1 space earlier than its usual starting position. So that means they actually get to pull it back 1, which is going to be super useful for the rest of the race to make those tires last. Now, when you're in the pits, you can also charge your ERS by 1. They are already full, so they can't do that. They can reduce the stress. They're already completely not stressed, so they're okay there. The last thing is you get to discard as many cards as you want in your hand and redraw new cards. So what we're going to do, and this is the only time, other than if there's a special card out there that lets you do it, this is the only other time that you can actually discard tire wear cards, because normally even with a white parameter token, like using this here, you can't discard that. So in this case, 1, 2, 3, 4, and they're going to get a brand new hand of cards. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. Oh, Ferrari got safety car. So what happens here? Roll the white die and move the yellow flag token on the control panel by the result of a die roll. If yellow flag token reaches the safety car token, the race is neutralized. Well, I don't think that's going to happen because the yellow token has not even moved this race, but we're going to still go find the white die here. Where did I put it? Right up here. We're going to roll it, and it is a 2. So the yellow flag is going to move 2. That has a little bit of an effect, but nothing too bad. And now we're going to discard that. And now that Ferrari's turn is done, they're going to place their car right here, exiting the pits. All right, so Mercedes had a fairly uneventful pit stop. They've now switched to soft tire, so they're going to be getting a +4 bonus as opposed to the +3 they were getting before. Now, when 2 cars are in the pit stops together, what you have to do is you have to roll the die. So let's see. So this will be for Ferrari's roll. 2-second pit stop. This will be Mercedes. And Mercedes got 5. So Because Ferrari got the lower number, they get out of the pits first, but had that been opposite, Mercedes would have been able to jump them in the pits. So you always have to roll that. These two have done their mandatory pit stops. They do not have to stop again unless they have a major problem. Us, though, we're going straight through, and we will have to stop at some point before the end of the race, so we always have to keep that in mind. With the cards we have, I think the best thing to do right now is to try to get as much movement done possible, since based on our tires being halfway to being done, we're going to be pitting likely on the next round, and I think speed is key here. So while we have the open space and we have the ERS points, let's play a blue card, use that ERS point, and that's going to give us a 8 movement in 8th gear because we're on the front straight, plus 4, and that's 12, which is massive amount of movement. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So remember, we can't change lanes with a blue card. So now we've gotten here. We are still going to be in a corner, but in 8th gear. I don't think it's worth playing a tire card because then we would end up in the gravel, and that's really bad stuff as well. Now, the only other thing we have to do is, because we went through this green speed limit with a blue pace card, we need to roll this red die. So we're going to roll it. What do we get? Okay, counter steer. Now, I wasn't too worried about that because I had kept a card in our hand. We actually got another one when we drew, but I had kept a card for that. I think that since we have a green and a red, I'm just going to go ahead and use this option card. It says if we play a red, we get this little bonus here, whereas the option card can let us play a red pace, but not get that bonus. So I'm going to discard that for a counter steer. And now what we can do is we can roll the white die. And the reason I was okay with that is because we were positioned in the middle of the track, which means that if we go left or right on our counter steer, we're still not going to hit the wall. It's just going to be an adjustment for the next turn. And here we go. Okay, it didn't really flip that much, and it sends us to the right, so we are now going to be on the inside line, which is not too bad because if we look up here, we're not going to get any excess movements. I think the outside would have been worse since there's these two lines here. And as we predicted, McLaren was not having a great run, so they just decided to stop now, and they're going to be switching to soft tires next turn so that they can get maximum movement for the rest of the race. Now let's start round 12 and let's see where things are at. We have to think about what we're going to do in the next few corners. So the next green pace limit is here, so I want to keep a green card in hand for that. And this one is red, so we might as well play a red card because we're going to get some serious movement out of that, since with Williams we get a bonus for playing a red card. I'm going to start by drawing here. We have our ERS with our 2 pips, so we could get a total of 6 cards. So I'm going to pick an extra one here. Okay, so that's a pretty good set of cards in our hand. We have some good variety and good choice. So I'm going to go ahead and draw for the other teams, and then we'll make our movement. All right, so we're going to play a red card now. First, I'm going to draw an event card just to see if we can get something neat, something we can use. Risk management, what's that? You're managing the risk very well. Discard 1 red action card and ignore the speed limits in corners. That could really come in handy later, so we're going to keep that. And of these 2 red cards, I'm going to play the one that doesn't have the counter steer icon, since this is always useful to have at least one of these in your hand. So we're going to discard that. That's going to give us in 8th gear 5 movement points, plus 4 is 9, and 10 with our red bonus for Williams. So we're going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. And if you're wondering why I was hesitating there, it's because I was actually trying to see which lane I wanted to take for the most efficient way through this corner. Now, I could play an ERS point to get us one more down here, since I am in this DRS zone. So you want to be careful in the DRS zone. But I think at this point, I would rather have the extra card every turn from having 2 pips on the LED. So I'm going to go with that. That's going to end our movement for the turn. Now I'm going to do the rest of the movements, and we'll see where things end up. So a few cool things happened here. Ferrari decided to use the blue pace to get out of the pits really quickly. They used that in combination with a tire wear card and an additional ERS that got them to here, then to here. And then when rolling the red die for violating the speed limit, they rolled and they actually got a counter steer, which they used a card to counter. And they actually ended up with a better line because of that, because the car swerved to the right. So in this case, This is where it went. That gave them probably one of the best movements they could have asked for. Mercedes coming in behind, they went for the safe option and played a green card since their car characteristic gave them a bonus of +1 MP if they were on a full charge, which they were after their pit stop. So they ended up using a tire wear card and got up to here. So they'll be starting next turn a little bit slower than Ferrari in 6th gear, but still not too bad. McLaren, they played the safe bet. They went on to their soft tires, so now they're going to get +4 for the rest of the race, and they decided to actually forgot to take this token off. They did a quick fix, so they actually charged their ERS by 1, did a quick fix on here so that they would get rid of this ERS failure they had by discarding a red card and the yellow parameter token, and now they are all set for the next round. Moving on to round 13, we are still in the lead. Everybody else has stopped and we haven't. So let's draw some cards and then see what we're going to do. So I ended up with some pretty decent cards here. I actually drew 2 red cards and decided to use the 2 LEDs here to put those 2 red cards at the bottom of the action deck and draw 2 other cards. You can do that if you have some ERS charge every turn during your draw step. So in this case, we got a green card and a draw event. That's what I wanted because with this next corner being green, I want to try to maximize movement through there since we are in 8th gear, which means that I want a red speed. So we're going to play the draw event card just to see what we're going to get. Now, sometimes you might want to keep some of these draw event cards. With this engine mapping, oh, that's excellent. That lets us drive further when we're starting from a 4th gear, so that's pretty good. But what I was going to say is sometimes you want to keep those event cards because they can get used, or the draw event cards, I should say, they can be used to play in addition to a red or a green card during a battle to add LEDs to your score. So that's why you sometimes may want to keep those in your hand, but you can't keep them at the end of the race because if you're holding them at the end, you'll actually get a time penalty. So you may want to keep some of those cards if you know there's a battle coming up, someone's coming up behind you, you're coming up on someone. But in our case, we just want to get some event cards out, see what we can get in our hand since we're far enough away from everybody. So my thought here is we play 2 green cards. So what that's going to do is it's going to give us red pace speed without actually playing a red card, which means we will not violate this green speed limit. So for here, we have 8th gear, 5. So that's 5 plus 4 is 9. We just don't get this extra bonus here because we didn't play a actual red cards, but we're still going to get that 9. And that's going to take us 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and onto another 8th gear space, which is exactly what we wanted. So now I'm going to discard those. Playing cards in combination does make you roll the yellow die. So we're going to roll that and see what we get. And we get a stress. So we play that here. The good news is, though, is that when you play a green card, you also get to reduce a stress. So we will reduce that back here, which means it really didn't have any bad effect on us. Now I'm going to do the movement for the rest of the cars, and we'll see where everybody ends up. A pretty eventful round for the other players. So Ferrari, they went as quick as they could without using a ERS since they don't have any. They played 2 red cards in combination. They got a stress here, so no big deal on the yellow die. And they were able to play all the way up to here. Mercedes, with a deficit, obviously, starting in 6th gear, being a little bit behind, they elected to do the same thing, only they didn't have 2 red cards, so they used their ace in hand event card in order to use that to clone the red card and play them both in combination. Now, the cool part is that they got all the way through here and they ended up, because their battery was full and they had a bonus MP, they ended up right over here on the corner and used a tire wear card to get themselves here. Now, being in the DRS zone, they normally would have been able to catch up to Ferrari, but it's only to the tile behind the car. And in this case, the tile, we see the separation right here by the blue little faint line. That's where you would put them together in the real life physical game. And that basically means that they'll be right there. But the reason they did that is because it's going to put them in 8th gear instead of 4th, so they don't have a huge deficit in movement next turn to Ferrari. McLaren, on the other hand, they came out of the pits in 2nd gear at the green pace, so pretty slow, but McLaren does have better low speed downforce, so they actually got 2 plus 4 is 6. They ended up here, but they used a tire wear card to get that extra point, which gave them 7 and stopped them in a 4th gear corner, since that will give them a better exit next time. Now we're going to move on to round 14. I'm going to draw the cards for everybody, and then we'll see where everything is at. If we play one of these red cards, in 8th gear, we're going to get 5, plus our tire bonus of 4, that's 9, plus 1 is 10. Look at this. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. We don't even have to change lanes. We don't even have to violate any speed limits, use any bonuses. That's just playing one card. No dice rolls, no nothing. We are now in the pits exactly where we want to be. So for us, it's going to be a short turn, and we're going to end it right there. All right, so I had to show this here while I was doing it. So Ferrari and Mercedes had basically both a huge run through here. Ferrari used 2 green cards to get through here with the green pace limit and did so successfully. They actually ended up here, but decided to go backwards too in order to charge their ERS fully since they had no battery left. Now, they're thinking, we're safe from Mercedes because they're going through here with a green pace. It shouldn't be much of an issue. And they also have this card here, defending like a lion. Now, the problem is Mercedes actually was able to play a pretty crazy turn. So they played a red card, and that gave them 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 because this was charged. But what they did is when they started their turn, they actually got an event card called Change of Plans, checking 3 team radio cards and exchanging one with one you have. Well, they ended up getting a mitigation to what would have been a red die roll here. Now they have this differential setting 3 for corner entry. They can use a yellow parameter token to ignore the speed limits in a corner. If they didn't have that, they would have had to contend with the red die roll, but because of that, they were able to do this, play that, and not have to contend with it. So what that does is it puts them into an overtake position because they had a movement of 11, which is from here 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And then because they have the 11th movement and the 2 from the slipstream here, that gives them 13. So that puts their overtake to 3. Ferrari doesn't know what Mercedes has, but they figure, you know what, they got 2 cards, they've got the extra pip LED from the overtake points. So they're going to use their excellent defense card here. You're defending like a lion. Spend 2 ERS to defend against any attack without playing cards. And then what that's going to do is it's going to force Mercedes to use their cards anyways, which means now they've wasted this nice 4 LED red pace card. They've also wasted their draw event card that they play as an extra, and it's going to cost them, yes, the 2 ERSs that they're harvested, but at least without spending any cards, they're going to defend here. And then McLaren, they had a pretty mediocre turn. Unfortunately, because they were in this part of the corner, they could not play 2 cards to get that beautiful, beautiful, precious blue movement, which would have given them 8 points. So they got, let's see here, 5 instead. So it wasn't so bad. That brought them up to here. So because McLaren has a better car for red pace, which is likely what they're going to play next turn, they decide to not, slow down, get themselves over here. They just decide to stay here and get that extra movement for next turn. So wow, and this was an eventful round. Now we just got to get out of the pits in front of everybody. If Mercedes had actually passed Ferrari, that would have been really scary for us because they would have been up over here and that much closer to us. So now we're going to start the next round, and that's going to bring us to round 15, and that'll still be the final round of this episode. So let's see what happens. I'm going to draw the cards, and then we're going to go from there. All right, so since we're still in the lead, we're going to start, we're in the pits here, and we're going to, oh, I forgot to draw my extra card here because I forgot we have 6. Okay, here it is. So now this is what we have. I like these 3 cards, so we're going to keep those, but we are going to take these 3 cards and we're going to throw them into the discard pile, and then we're going to draw an additional 3 cards since we're allowed to do that. We're on the pits. Okay, well, that's not great. We got some tire wear cards, but hey, it is what it is. Not much we can do about it because you know what? They can come in useful sometimes. We are going to now change our tires from softs to mediums since, again, we would love to have the softs, but we can't because of the rule where we have to change and use at least 2 different tire types. We're going to reset our tires. We're going to gain 1 ERS. Put our stress down to 0. That's all the stuff we have to do for the pit stop. And now we are going to drive out here. So now I'm going to do the other car's turns. Oof, this was a pretty crazy turn. So here we go. Their move was made. Mercedes passed Ferrari. So there was a battle. Mercedes actually used it. Well, funny enough, they got a system failure during their draw step. And when it came up, it was a DRS fault. So that means they wouldn't be able to use the DRS until they fixed this. But didn't really matter for this turn. What they did is Ferrari did their move. They didn't have that many cards in their hand, so it wasn't super strong. Mercedes didn't have that strong of a move either. They used a red movement. It cost them a tire wear, but they were able to get in this inside lane here and challenge Ferrari. So with their overtake token, which they used, they got a 4 overtake on Ferrari. They did defend to try to make Mercedes spend their cards, but they couldn't stop them. So Mercedes got 4 overtake points, 1, 2, 3, 4, and put them over here, which is very dangerous for us. McLaren, they had an okay turn. They did the best that they could with their 4th gear corner. Ended up here in 8th gear starting next turn, so that's not too shabby. So now that's going to be it for this episode. Man, I wish I could play another one, but you know what? We're going to stop it here, and that's going to make an exciting start for next round to see if we can get out of the pits and we can sort of block Mercedes, because they have crazy momentum coming into Monza turn 1. It's going to be sketchy. It's going to be cars all over the place, but it's going to make for an exciting next lap. So I hope you guys enjoyed this episode 3, and I will see you next time for episode 4. Thank you for watching.